what is thick data and why is it so important? So let me first start by explaining the difference between thin data and thick data. So thin data is the quantitative data. It's your click-through rates, your sales numbers, your revenue. Thin data helps you understand that something has happened, but it doesn't tell you why. Thick data helps you understand why it is happening. So thick data is the contextual data, the subjective data, the qualitative data. Challenge is that we've told ourselves that the thick data is inaccessible. It's expensive. It doesn't scale. You can't get it in real time. But none of that is true. Thick data is exceptionally available if you look for it. So let me give you an example that demonstrates why. So let's say that you are a pharmaceutical marketer wanting to create an experience of value for a physician. Now, the way you would do that normally is that you would create your experience and then you would measure the engagement. You would measure click-through rates, time on site, conversion. But from a human perspective, none of that makes any sense because you're not measuring anything related to the physician. What you're measuring is your channels. You are measuring your ability to optimize your channels. They are channel optimization metrics. But if you ask the physician why they're spending time with you, they're not going to answer because I want to click through, I want to convert, or I want to spend more time. They're going to say, because I want to learn something. I'm coming to you because I want to learn something. So why don't we use that as a measure? Why don't we use learning as a measure? And so how you would do that is really, really simple. Every learning experience online is usually an interactive experience. If you go on LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, or Maven, it's a combination of content, interaction, participation. So why don't you use that interaction to see if your physicians are learning? You can check if they're learning the data that you were hoping to learn. You can ask them different types of questions. It's not really hard to figure out if they're learning or not. Now, if you can figure out if they're learning, you know that they're getting the value. And so you can do a second thing. You can also measure how fast they're learning. Because the second thing we know about our physicians is that they do not have a lot of time. So the faster they can learn something, the better. But doesn't that make it the opposite of what we think value is if we measure with engagement metrics? Because with engagement metrics, we make the assumption that more time equals value. But if you look at the world through the lens of the thick data and look at the physician and what they value, you would see that no. As long as they're learning something, learning it faster is better. So you can literally see how the thin data can tell you the wrong things. The second thing that's really important about thick data is that it really helps you make sense of the world where thin data only makes it confusing. Because since thin data doesn't tell you why something is happening, it also doesn't help you understand the connection between your experiences. You create these artificial connections based on this channel sends people to this channel, there's a hyperlink, or these tags existed on this channel and the physician was there, so they must appreciate this content because it has the same tags. Doesn't make any sense. It's a leap of faith. It's an interesting assumption, but I don't think it's anything more than that. But let's say you go back to the thick data. Let's say you're asking and finding out if the physician is learning something, and let's say that they did. Well, that's great. Because now you know that if they learned something, you need to reinforce that learning. So 1 or 2 weeks later, you reach out again with an experience that reinforces the learning. But what if they didn't learn something? Also great, because now you know that the first experience that you created didn't help them learn. So now, in 1 or 2 days or 1 or 2 weeks, you reach out again and you try to help them learn something in a different way. So you see, if you use thin data, you are literally designing a world for your own channels. It doesn't help you make much sense of things. But if you design it with the thick data, suddenly you can make all these connections, you can make all this sense, you can measure the value, and you can get better at value with a quite easy approach. And also that the thin data is not the only data we can get at speed and scale and in real time. If we only use our creativity a little bit more and think about what people value and how we can figure out if we're giving them that value, it's really easy to create much, much better experiences that our customers value, that delivers valuable outcomes to them, that drives valuable outcomes back to the business. Thank you.